Hi everybody, this is the third part of our lesson, how to write an academic paragraph. I hope you enjoyed the first two parts and I hope you found it useful. Now the third part is about the concluding sentence, the last part of a paragraph. But first let me tell you that this section, the last part or the concluding sentence in a paragraph is optional. So it also depends on the instructions and your instructor and the textbook, but it's okay if a paragraph doesn't have a concluding sentence, and not all the academic paragraphs actually have a concluding sentence, and that would be quite fine. Now, let's see, what is a concluding sentence? It is, as you might have guessed, the last sentence in a paragraph, which summarizes all the main points of a paragraph. So the last sentence of a paragraph or the concluding sentence is the sentence that closes off our paragraph. Now let's see, just like any other parts of a paragraph, there are some characteristics of a good concluding sentence. Let's get through them one by one. Okay, so what is the first characteristic of a good concluding sentence? The first characteristic of a good concluding sentence is that it summarizes the main points of the paragraph without adding any new points. Now let's have a look at two examples. An example of a good and an example of a bad concluding sentence. The first one is a good one. In short, if customers experience efficient service, eat well-prepared food, and feel comfortable in a restaurant, they will definitely go back to that place. Now, you see, here we're talking about three main points: efficient service, well-prepared food, and feeling comfortable. And if you read the paragraph, you will know none of these 3 points are new. We already talked about all these three in our paragraph. And what is this concluding sentence doing? It's simply summarizing what we said earlier in the paragraph. Now let's have a look at the next one, which is an example of a bad concluding sentence. In short, if customers experience efficient service, eat well-prepared food, and don't have to pay a lot of money, they will definitely go back to that place. This is not a good concluding sentence because your guess is right, because throughout the paragraph, we didn't mention anything about the money, the cost, not having to pay a lot of money. So this is a new point which cannot be added in the last sentence of a paragraph. So we can never talk about something new, something we didn't mention in the body of our paragraph. So this is a bad concluding sentence just because we added something new in the last sentence. Well, what's the next characteristic of a good concluding sentence? That's using transition signals. And what is a transition signal? Transition signals are actually very important, and we will be talking about them shortly. They are words or phrases that prepare the reader for the next sentence. So when I see a transition signal, as a reader, I would know what the next sentence would be about. I would get an idea about the sentence that comes next. Now let's have a look at the examples of transition signal in a concluding sentence. So here we have in short. That's my transition signal, because when I see an in short, when I'm reading the paragraph and I get to this point in short, so I already know the next sentence is going to be the last sentence of a paragraph. It's preparing me as a reader for the summarization and for the closure of the entire paragraph. Now let's have a look at the other example. To sum up, that's another transition signal. To sum up, so when I see to sum up, I already know what comes next is going to be the concluding sentence and the last sentence of the paragraph. So we're going to talk more about the transition signals because they're very, very important in a good academic writing. Okay, so here we go with the third point. Do not repeat the exact same words you used in other sentences in the paragraph. It's very important. We don't want the same words repeated more than once, except if they are keywords. So it's fine to repeat the keywords, but other words, not really. Now let's have a look at our example. The concluding sentence was, in short, if customers experience efficient service, eat well-prepared food, and feel comfortable in a restaurant, they will definitely go back to that place. So here the keywords are efficient, well-prepared food, and feel comfortable. Now, if you remember, we did not use any of these words throughout the paragraph. In the body of our paragraph, we used other words. Now, here are the words we used there. So instead of efficient, in the body of our paragraph, we had fast and friendly, which almost mean the same thing, right? But we have to try to replace the word that we already used in the body of our paragraph. The second word here is well-prepared food. Now, we didn't have the exact same expression anywhere in our paragraph before, but what we had instead with almost the same meaning was fresh, healthy food that matches the taste of customers. So you see, they mean the same thing, but the wording is different. Different vocabulary, different words are being used here in the concluding sentence because we don't want repetition of words in our paragraphs. Now, the third one is feel comfortable, but what we had in the body of our paragraph was pleasant atmosphere. So we should try to find a replacement. And the keywords here, restaurant and customers, which of course is perfectly fine to be repeated since they are absolutely keywords in this paragraph. About the golden point of writing, which is something we already mentioned in previous slide, and that's about transition signals. Basically, we should always remember that in any writing, be it a paragraph or an essay, sentences must be very well connected. In other words, the connection between sentences must be very clear. Now, how can we make this connection between sentences clear? Through something called transition signals. We actually talked about it a little in previous slides. Transition signals basically tell the reader to be prepared for the next sentence. They will give me a general idea of what the next sentence is going to be about and how is that connected to the previous sentence. And we do that because we don't want to surprise our readers. We cannot surprise our reader. In a good writing, the reader is not surprised. Any sentence must be an indicator, must actually tell me what the next sentence would be about. Now, here, have a look at the examples. The first example, global warming is getting worse. More species are in danger of extinction. So in this example, we have two separate sentences. One sentence finishes, period, and the new sentence starts. So when I finish the first sentence in this example, I have no idea what the second sentence is going to be talking about. So in a way, it's surprising me because I have no preparation in mind, because the writer has not prepared me for the next sentence. Now let's have a look at the same example with a transition signal. Global warming is getting worse. As a result, so when I see this expression as a result, I already know, oh, so the next sentence is going to talk about the effect or the result of global warming. So the element of surprise is actually being taken away, and this will make our sentences and our writing a good writing. So as a result, more species are in danger of extinction. Now I know exactly the connection between these two sentences is that of a cause and effect. And I know that because the transition signal used there is the right one. Now, I have another example for you guys. Living in a big city has a lot of advantages. First sentence finishes. So with no connection, we are just jumping into the second sentence, which is it comes with many problems. This is not a very good writing because there is no connection. There is no proper connection between two sentences. Let's see, how can I connect these two sentences professionally? All right, here we go. Living in a big city has a lot of advantages. However, so when I see this word however, I already know something contrary to the first sentence is going to follow. So my mind is kind of prepared for something that runs against the first sentence or the advantages. So I already know this sentence is definitely going to talk about disadvantages of living in a big city. And that's because I have the right connector or the transition signal, which is however. So however, it comes with many problems. So these are two examples of transition signals. Now, there are actually a lot of other transition signals in the next slides, but you can always get access to them through different online sources, and they are very important in any good writing. All right, now in this slide, we have a list of some of the most common transition signals we can use in our academic writings, essay or paragraph. They are all really helpful, and there are actually a lot more transition signals, but these are some of the commonest ones. So please make sure you use them regularly so that you can master these signals and the connectors, and make sure you know how to use them correctly in order to clarify the relationship between two sentences, because like we said before, they make a big difference in the quality of your writing. Well, this is the last part of our paragraph writing. I hope you found it useful, and I hope these lessons help you be a better writer. So don't forget to email me your questions. If you have any comments or any suggestions, I'd be more than happy to hear them, and have a beautiful day.